Let's continue with core cmdlets. If you have watched previous videos, at this point, you should be familiar with a pipeline. Previously, we already saw the format table and format list for formatting the output in different views. Cmdlets like select, sort, and group that interacts with the object, the Out-GridView for outputting data into an external window, and the getDate for retrieving the date and time. For our example, let's take getService, which retrieves the list of services on the current computer and places it into a variable. By the way, if any error appears, the reason for this could be a lack of permission. For example, some of the services require administrative permissions to read their details when you work with processes or services. So if you have an error on the execution of getService, you can run your ISE or PowerShell console window as an administrator. The most important thing in programming is always knowing what data you have on your hands at each point in the code. What is actually located in a variable? Is this an array or a single object? What properties does it have? So, the approach is usually like running a variable to see if it is an array. If this is a simple variable like string, integer, or Boolean, for example, you will know what to do with it next. If this is an array, then you select the first object and ask it about its properties. So, the purpose of the select object is to select an object that is different than the current selection. Maybe remove some unnecessary properties or select a different number of objects. So, to ask for all properties, we are using the asterisk, the wildcard character. And for a single object, I'm using parameter first with value 1. Now, when we know that we have an array of objects with all these properties, we can select specific properties that we want to display for our needs. As you see, I'm selecting the properties from the console because I do not always know how they are written correctly. Now, when we know what we are selecting and we just need to fix our output formatting, we're doing this with format table or format list cmdlets. But as we see, there is a problem with sorting. All services are sorted by name, but we need them, for example, by different property. This is where sortObject comes to help us. The cmdlets like format table or format list are usually used as the last cmdlets in the execution row. There are a few nice parameters like group by that allow you to group the output by specific parameters, but remember this only affects the console view. As you see, even the group by gave me something that did not look as I expected. As you see, we have a difference between sorting and grouping, and this is a root cause for this view issue. Now, when this is solved, we can see all service groups by start type. Of course, you can add 2 values or more for sorting. I'm stopping with those cmdlets at this point and leaving you further playing. Try to play with processes or maybe some other things. Now let's see the group object cmdlet. It is very useful when you want to group between objects on specific parameter values or find duplicates. If you provide an array of non-simple objects like strings, integers, or bools, you should provide a property that you want to use for a grouping. By default, it will not know how to group your objects. Now, when we have a group of objects, we can, for example, select the last object that has the group of running services. Now, the interesting things. When I executed select object with the property group, I received an object with a single property of group. If I were not doing last one, I would receive an array of objects with the group properties. But when I'm doing the expand property, this gives me an array of objects inside the group property of each object. Let's see another cmdlet Out-GridView. This is for those who want to see, in a different window, what data we actually have. Once again, we feel like we don't see all properties, so as usual, we can use a select object to select all properties. Now, as you can see, the select object cmdlet with an asterisk once again gave us all the properties. This is a pretty nice grid window that allows us to filter objects by different criteria and sort them by each property, which makes it easy to analyze the data. Let's continue to a getDate commandlet. The getDate commandlet allows us to retrieve the current date and time, which is very often used for things like counting time, displaying time between different operations, or even writing time in the log when a specific operation was executed. As you see, the output can be displayed in different formats by the ISO 8601. You can search for this standard online to understand it more clearly, understand its usage. The date object can be manipulated in different ways, starting from its commandlet parameters and even the object's methods, which is very nice. I'm leaving parameters for your playing and will show you only the methods of the date object. For example, you can add minutes, hours, days, and even years to make a specific date. And the most coolest thing is that you can create a time span between of two date-time objects by the subtraction operator. There are a lot of other commandlets, but it is important to catch the basics first. So play with these commandlets till you have a confident experience with them, and then you will get to other commandlets. If you really like this video and want to support me, please give me at least some likes on this video. If something is unclear or you have questions, you can write to us on our Telegram channel. All this is done absolutely free of charge, without any benefit to me or anyone else. And of course, thank you for watching.